What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out the drive shaft CV joint repair kit for the front or the back, fitting all 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers. Now the Resepa joint on the JK is probably one of the most failed components for a couple of different reasons. One being, if you have lifted your Wrangler and have not upgraded the drive shaft, the harder angle will wear out the boot over time, which can fling grease and allow dirt in and debris in to damage the joint, especially if you take your Jeep off-road. Now it can also just fail due to normal wear and tear and age. However, this repair kit will be an affordable solution to fix that issue compared to replacing the drive shaft, lift kit or not, to regain that function and protection to the joint. Now once this is put together and installed on your JK, this will bring back the function that you may not even thought you were missing with the factory drive shaft by allowing free and smooth movement. Now the design here won't just allow for revitalized functionality, but also upgraded protection to the joint inside, which will ultimately extend the life of your current setup. Now this will include everything that you need in order to swap your current Resepa joint in the kit, and will have an OE style construction. Now the joint housing here is going to be made of a steel material. It is going to be a little bit thinner and basically sandwich the joint in, protecting the ball bearings inside from the elements. Now the boot that will protect the joint will also be made of a flexible rubber material to allow good movement within the system. Now as you can see, this is going to be the joint here. This will be made from a super thick and heavy duty steel, and on the inside it will have ball bearings and low friction grease included in the kit in order to allow that free movement. Now you're also going to get OE style hardware out of the kit, including the bolts, alignment plates. You're going to get gaskets and also the boot seal. Now this will come in at roughly $200, which is fairly affordable for what it is compared to other options available on the page. Now this will require a little bit of assembly compared to other choices that may come fully assembled. However, if you don't mind the assembly, it should be no hassle to you. Now this again will also be a much more affordable solution compared to replacing the entire drive shaft, whether you don't want to spend the extra cash or if you don't have an aggressive lift that requires one. The install here will require some mechanical experience, so this will get a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, but if you do have the experience and the right tools, you should be able to get this done in about 3 hours front to back. Now speaking of the install, one of our customers here has installed this on their JK and is going to walk you through what that process looks like step by step. So that is going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
So here's the tools that we use for this project. In order to take the drive line off, we start with this 8mm socket. I used a whole bunch of extensions because it's kind of hard to get up behind the right next to it, next to the between the cross member and the drive line or the transfer case. If you have a bent head ratchet, you can get up in there pretty good, and you don't have to have all these sockets or extensions. To put them back, it's an Allen head, it's a 6mm Allen head. That's what comes with the new part. To take the front end of the drive line off, I just use this swivel socket on an impact gun. Once we had it out, we used the snap ring pliers to get them out. These ones are not quite big enough, so I pulled out my other ones that were bigger. But I wanted to show that these can work even though it's a smaller set. You can get them on and off. I just use that one because they're easier. I used a couple of battery powered drills, impact gun. You can use a ratchet for everything. There's steel hammer and a dead blow, a chisel or a punch, a flathead screwdriver, and the puller if you need it. Sometimes they come off pretty easy, other times you have to pull them off with a puller. Today we're going to change this CV joint on the end of the front drive line on a Jeep JK. So to do that, we're going to have to take the entire drive line out, which will consist of these bolts here on the front axle, and then these bolts here. These are 8mm that go into the yoke on the front of the transfer case. Just as a note, it is easier to jack the front axle up so you can rotate your driveline around. But if you do that, make sure you block the wheels. Don't pull any driveline out without checking your wheels and making sure that's locked in. Don't just rely on the brakes or the transmission to hold it in place. We start with these 8mm bolts in the front flange of the transfer case. And just rotate your driveline around to where your tools can match up on the bolts. It is a little bit of a bind because of the angle here, so you have to stay up on the top side of this joint. Sometimes some of these are a little bit tough because there is a thread locker put in from the factory. So you may have to use a ratchet to break some of those loose. Okay, that's all the bolts loosened up on the transfer case end. Next we'll go up and take the front end apart. Okay, so the front end, we'll just take these 4 15mm bolts out. On the yoke, just a little bit of tap will pull that off of there and release that. Then where we got the front, already done. Sometimes it takes a bit of prying here. We may have to get a hammer and wrench that just a little bit. So sometimes you have to bend on this one here a little bit, get it to break loose. And if that doesn't work, we put a chisel or a pry bar in here. That just pops it loose. It's not stuck tight, but it is kind of awkward to get up into it. And then slide it out right there. And as you can see right here, this boot right here is what breaks and allows all the grease to come out of there. And that's what takes these CV type joints out. So here is the new joint. It comes with grease, new bolts and clips. It's got some gaskets, and then it's got one of the shields and the joint itself and the other shield. So to take this off, we'll take right here on this edge right here and just a pop this cover off. You can see in here the grease is pretty dry and crusty. It's not that healthy, and that's what takes this bearing out. It can't keep lubricated. So then if you come around here, you can see that there's this snap ring right here, and we have to pull that out. Pull that out, and I think we have to save this and reuse it on the new. So if you look right here, you can see that there's a lot of movement in this here, and that's what happens when they run out of grease. The boot rips, the grease falls out, it dries out, it gets crusty, and it can't properly lubricate. And so this is a bad joint right here. So we took the snap ring off, and then we're going to have to snap on it just a little. We may have to get a bearing puller on there, but we'll see if we can get it off there. Push right in here. That's moving a little bit. So not every option you'll have where the boot's completely broken free. So you may not be able to get a chisel or a punch in there. So you can also use a puller, and we'll put this on here and with the puller, that will also pull it right off of there. So now if you look, it came off this direction here. So you look at you have to line this up this way because there are two different sides. Let me pull it out of the plastic. So there's two different sides. Has this groove, and this side, the cage is a little bit thicker and more pronounced on this side. So the side with the groove, this is the groove for the gasket. That side goes away from the drive shaft, so we'll put it on this way. But what we have to do first, we have to cut this off. If your boot is not completely torn off, you'll have to cut this before you pull the boot off. Otherwise, just rip the boot and pull it off, because this comes with the new boot anyways. Okay, we're going to see if we can get this off. We'll come in here and that's out of the ledge. We'll probably have to keep doing that to get it all the way off. If you can, sometimes you can get in there and cut these, but sometimes they're tighter than what that allows, so we'll see if we can get this to... So there, just pull that off, pull the boot the rest of the way off, and then I only want to wipe this off and clean it up because it's got all that dry, nasty grease in there. And test this and make sure that it's the right spline fits on there just nice, so that'll be good there. So that's clean, this fits good. Got the grease here. My experience with grease and bearings is it's easier to do it in your hands. I know a lot of information was put it on there and squirt it in there, but I found that it's just easier to do it while it's in your hand, and you can see when you can tell when the grease is actually pushed all the way through. You want to do that until you can see it squishing out the backside. So we'll squirt grease and fill. You can see it starting to come through on this backside, so we'll just keep going until we have solid grease throughout the bearing and the cage. Keep checking that till you make sure that you've got no air bubbles or anything on the backside. Looks like we need just a little bit more on this spot right here. So we'll push a little bit left there. And that filled it up. Alright. And also you come and put a little bit of grease right on here. That just helps the boot slide over, helps the splines line up and everything. That way, when we put this on, should sit that down right there, and slide. Oh, we need to, don't forget the ring. Put the ring on the boot before you slide it on, and then slide the new boot up to this spot. Leave it like that. So now that we have that boot on, we can slide this on. Remember, this is the side that goes out towards the end of the drive shaft. And that goes up in there. It'll slide in until it fits, and there's that. You got to line these bolt holes up with your through holes here. So just take an old bolt, slide one in there, or two, or whatever you want. But you have to get that lined up. And then with the gasket, you can put a little grease on there. It bolts up, or it seats around the bolt holes. So right here, I'm going to put another set in directly opposite, just to help make sure that everything lines up. And then we'll slide the outside cover on. There is that. Okay, we got a lot of grease everywhere, and that's probably a better way to do it than what I did, but this is how I've done these. You play with grease, you get it on your face. So we have that there. Now this here, this is not on permanently. We still have to put the retaining ring on there, but I put it on here just to kind of keep things cleaned up a little bit. So let's put that on right now. So let's see if the new hardware did this. So I'm going to switch these snap ring pliers out for these that make them, it's a little bit wider opening that we can get around the shaft a little bit better. Around the shaft, just take a screwdriver or chisel or something to make sure it's clear up into the seat to the ring. And then sometimes you need to tap a little bit on the back just to make sure that it goes in, but that one there looks nice and seated all the way around. So there's that. Now we can put this cap on for the final time, and then we'll switch out to the new hardware. And go from there. So we'll pull these placeholder bolts out, throw them away, and put some new bolts back in. I'm just about ready to put this, tighten the band clamp. So now we're going to work on this band clamp here. Need to make sure that this boot is pushed up in to the shoulder. Just kind of give it a little nudge. There's enough grease and everything on there. It should move pretty good. And I don't have the specific tool to tighten this, but we can do a pretty good job with it right there. And so if you kind of hold it here, you can get that to pull in tight, and then you can bend those tabs over just to where it holds it pretty good. So we'll give one more little crank on this. You stick a screwdriver in here to hold it in place a little bit and get just a little bit more bite on it. Oops, that broke loose again. And put a little chunk in that, and that holds it pretty good. And then you want to cut this off . And pop these corners down in so they're not left up. Double check and make sure that when it comes over, that you're not getting into your boot with that tail, and should be good. Okay, So now we have the boot on, everything's in here, the ring is on the end of the shaft, the grease is in there. That's the last thing before we go put it in. So let's go slide it up under there. If you can get just one started, that'll kind of hold it in place. And then we'll grab our ratchet and we'll see if we can get these. Like everything with a radial bolt pattern, you don't tighten everything up from one side. So the last step is just to hook the front of the drive line up. Slide it up on there, get one of the bolts lined up. Spin it around until you get another one. That's that. That ain't going anywhere.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install of this drive shaft CV joint repair kit for the front or the back, fitting all 2007 to 2018 JK Wranglers, and you can find this kit right here at extremeterrain.com.